It starts with something stupid. The mug in the sink that no one rinsed, the message left unseen, the way someone laughs a little too loudly at your expense. Your chest goes hot for half a second, jaw tight, shoulders locked, a sentence rising in your throat like a wave. And then, click, you swallow it. You smile. You say, "It's fine. Don't worry about it." Even as your nervous system is screaming that it is very much not fine. People think you're easygoing. They don't know how terrifying it feels inside your body to let yourself actually be angry. This isn't a video about managing your temper. It's for the people whose anger has never even been allowed to reach the surface. We're going to talk about what happens when anger is wired to danger, how it gets disguised as anxiety and self-blame, why your culture or family taught you that calm was safer than honest, and what it takes to slowly give anger a room in your life without burning everything down. Because sometimes the emotion you're most afraid of is the one that would have saved you. Let's start with this. You don't have an anger problem. Your problem is that anger is not an option on your internal menu. You have sad, you have guilty, you have tired, you have, "I'm probably overreacting." But plain, clean, "I am angry because that was not okay," that's the one emotion that gets censored before it even forms. Maybe you grew up in a home where anger was dangerous. One person's rage filled the entire house. Doors slammed, plates broke, voices became weapons. You watched what anger did, and your body made a silent vow. Whatever I become, I will never become that. Or maybe it was the opposite. Anger wasn't exploding everywhere, it just didn't exist. Everyone stayed polite, controlled, proper. If you cried or protested, the room went cold. You got that look that said, "We don't do this here." So you learned. You learned to be understanding. You learned to see the other person's perspective before you even knew your own. You learned to pre-forgive people for things they hadn't even done yet, just in case. And whenever something actually hurt you, there was a whole process in your head. You'd feel the spike of, "This is unfair," and then immediately edit it. Maybe they're just stressed. Maybe I'm being dramatic. They don't mean it like that. It's not a big deal. Every time you did that, your body had nowhere to put the energy of no. Nowhere to place the outrage, the boundary, the dignified refusal. So it went inward. What you couldn't safely feel as anger at others, you slowly turned into anger at yourself. You call it procrastination, burnout, self-sabotage. You call it low self-esteem. Underneath, a quieter truth. I'm furious. I just have no safe place to be furious. And the worst part? On the outside, people think you're so patient, so chill, so mature, but your nervous system is running a full-time PR campaign, trying to keep you nice enough that no one will ever see the parts of you you're scared might destroy everything. If you've ever walked away from a conversation and only then, 10 minutes later in the shower, thought of what you actually wanted to say, that's not an accident. That's training. If this feels a little too accurate, stay with me. Because the goal here is not to turn you into someone who explodes. It's to help you become someone who no longer has to amputate their own anger to feel worthy of love. And as you listen, notice this. Which part of you is already arguing? But it wasn't that bad. First, let's name what anger actually is. Anger is not a character flaw. It's a survival signal. Biologically, it's one of the ways your body says, "A boundary has been crossed. Something is off. Pay attention." When anger is allowed to exist, it helps you move, to say no, to leave, to demand better. It's the energy that lets you push the world back to a distance that doesn't crush you. But when you're punished or shamed for that signal, your nervous system doesn't stop generating it. It just stops letting you consciously feel it. So the anger doesn't disappear. It changes costumes. For many people, it becomes anxiety. Instead of thinking, "They hurt me," your brain loops, "Something is wrong, and it's probably me." Your heart races not when you're crossing someone's line, but when you imagine they might be upset with you. You don't get angry at what they did. You get anxious about how they see you. Then there's the exhaustion, the bone-deep tiredness that comes from constantly monitoring the emotional weather in every room you enter. You scan faces, tones of voice, tiny changes in posture, always ready to smooth, soften, appease. Think about it. If your system has decided that your own anger is the most dangerous thing, then your full-time job becomes preventing anything that might trigger it. Disagreeing becomes dangerous. Asking for more becomes dangerous. Being too visible, too needy, too honest, dangerous. So you shrink. You over-explain. You apologize for existing. You become very good at forgiving people who have not earned forgiveness. Here's the twist. On a deep level, your body thinks it is protecting others from you. You learn somewhere that your upset is too much, that your disappointment makes people crumble, that your frustration is ungrateful, rude, selfish. So you cut yourself off at the first sign of heat. You put ice on your own emotions before anyone else has to. But when you do that for years, your system doesn't just filter out anger. It starts to filter out everything. Joy gets quieter. Desire gets confusing. You don't know what you want because wanting is tangled up with the fear of someday being angry if you don't get it. Pause with that for a second. If wanting and anger are linked, then not wanting becomes your safest option. Why risk asking for more if it might someday force you to face a no you don't feel allowed to be angry about? Now we need to talk about where this came from, beyond "you're just sensitive." Some families, cultures and systems are built on the idea that harmony matters more than truth. Children are rewarded for being easy, quiet, good, respectful, not for being honest about their pain. You may have been praised for being the calm one, the peacemaker, the child who understood. You were the one who didn't talk back, who mediated fights, who sat next to the explosive parent and tried to soothe them. You might have become the emotional shock absorber, taking in everyone else's frustration so it didn't tear the family apart. In that kind of environment, anger isn't just frowned upon. It's treated as a threat to survival. So of course your body labeled it forbidden. Of course your nervous system wired itself around staying acceptable, staying small, not rocking the boat. And it doesn't help that many societies still quietly prefer people who never make a fuss. Workplaces reward the employee who says, "no problem," when it very much is a problem. Relationships glorify the partner who is low maintenance, as if having needs were a design flaw. When the world keeps rewarding your compliance and calling it kindness, it's easy to think the problem is you when you finally feel resentful. It's not. It's the system that taught you harmony at any cost, and you were the cost. If you're hearing yourself in this, you're not some broken outlier. You're part of a whole generation of people who were taught that the only safe emotion is "I understand." Let's go one layer deeper, the rules inside your head. Over time, those external messages become internal laws. They sound like, "I'm not the kind of person who gets angry. If I'm upset, I must be misunderstanding something. Good people stay calm. If I speak up, they'll leave." These aren't just thoughts. They're conditions for love. Your brain quietly believes, "I only deserve connection if I keep myself edited." So any sign of anger trips an alarm. Maybe your throat tightens when you try to say, "I didn't like that." Maybe your voice shakes. Maybe you cry instead of getting angry, because sadness feels more allowed than protest. Inside there might even be an internalized parent voice. "Don't start. Don't be dramatic. Don't ruin this." That voice doesn't ask, "Are you okay?" It asks, "Are they okay with you?" So your anger becomes a kind of orphaned emotion. It shows up in dreams, in fantasies, where you finally tell someone off. It leaks out in sarcasm, in passive-aggressive jokes, in going silent for 3 days because you need space, but can't bring yourself to say why. And sometimes it explodes, not because you're a monster, but because no system can run indefinitely at maximum suppression without cracking. One small thing goes wrong, and suddenly it's not about the mug in the sink anymore. It's about every time you swallowed yourself to keep the peace. Here's the painful irony. You've spent your life trying not to be too much, and the only times you do feel like too much are precisely the moments when your nervous system can't keep you numb anymore. Quick check-in. If a part of you is thinking, okay, but I still don't trust my anger, that makes sense. You've never seen it modeled as something sane, grounded, sacred. You've seen rage. You've seen cruelty. You've seen people use anger to dominate, to humiliate, to control. No one showed you what anger looks like when it's paired with self-responsibility, with what you did was not okay, instead of you are worthless. So your brain bundles them together, anger, a harm. And since you don't want to harm people, you exile anger. But here's the truth you were never told. When anger is forbidden, it doesn't make you kinder. It makes you easier to exploit. It makes you say yes when your whole body is a no. It makes you stay in jobs, friendships, relationships that are slowly eroding you because you can't tolerate the inner revolt of saying, this is not enough. The cost of forbidden anger is not just internal discomfort, it's wasted years, it's chronic self-abandonment. It's a life that looks peaceful on the outside and feels like low-grade resentment on the inside. If you've ever thought, I don't know who I am, it might be because you've spent so long being who other people needed you to be, so you'd never have to say, stop. You are not bad for wanting to protect people from your anger. You were just never shown that there's a version of anger that protects you too. So what do you do with an emotion that feels both dangerous and necessary? We start small. We start safely. We start with honesty, not performance. First, naming without judging. Instead of I'm overreacting, try. A part of me is angry. That tiny shift matters. You're not declaring war on anyone. You're just acknowledging what is true inside your body. You can even put it on paper. Take out a notebook and write, I am angry about, and let the sentence finish itself. Don't pretty it up. Don't justify the other person. This is not a courtroom. Your job is not to decide whether the anger is valid by external standards. Your job is to listen to what it's trying to protect. Second, move it out of freeze. Anger is physical. If your whole life has been stay calm, your body might need a different script. You don't have to scream into a pillow if that feels wrong. You can start with something as simple as pressing your feet into the floor, clenching and releasing your fists, exhaling with sound. Tell your body, you're allowed to feel energy without anyone getting hurt. That's a new experience for your nervous system. Third, anger as information, not a weapon. Before you act, ask your anger 3 questions. What boundary feels crossed? What did I need in that moment? What would I want to say if I trusted that I wasn't too much? Often the answer is surprisingly simple. I needed them to listen. I needed a heads up. I needed to know my no was allowed. Now you're not just drowning in heat. You're holding a specific need. This is where reparenting comes in. Think of the younger version of you who learned that anger was forbidden. Picture them in that house, that school, that culture. What would you, as the adult you are now, want to say on their behalf? I believe you. It was not okay. You shouldn't have had to stay quiet to be loved. You can literally say those things out loud, in your room, in your car. It sounds ridiculous until you feel your shoulders drop because someone finally took your side, that someone is you. And then, slowly, we bring this into real relationships. You don't start with the person who traumatized you. You start with low-stakes honesty, like, hey, when this happened, I noticed I felt a bit angry. I care about you, and I also want to be honest. That joke didn't sit well with me. Anger doesn't have to come out as attack. It can come out as clarity. One of the hardest parts will be what happens next. The relapse. You will go back to swallowing your feelings sometimes. You will walk away from a conversation and realize hours later, I did it again. I smiled through it. When that happens, your old reflex will be to turn the anger inwards. See, I'm hopeless. I'll never change. Try something different. Notice the anger that's now aimed at you for not speaking up and redirect it gently. Of course I froze. This is decades of training. But the fact that I noticed it now means something in me is waking up. You can even repair retroactively. Send a message. Hey, can I circle back to something from earlier? I realized it bothered me more than I said. Healing forbidden anger is not a one-time explosion. It's a series of small corrections, where you teach your body that telling the truth doesn't equal catastrophe. And if this is the kind of thing you know you'll need to revisit on days you feel yourself shrinking again, it might be worth keeping this somewhere you can easily find it. Because you're not just learning to express anger. You're learning to exist in your full size without apologizing for the space you take up. Come back to that moment at the sink. The mug, the offhand comment, the little sting you almost gaslit yourself out of feeling. Except this time you don't override it immediately. You feel the heat rise in your chest and you pause. You acknowledge, yeah, that hurt. You take a breath and you stay on your own side. Maybe you still choose not to say anything out loud. That's okay. Even silently, you tell yourself the truth. I didn't like that. I matter here. If this keeps happening, I'm allowed to change something. Bit by bit, the version of you who has been holding their breath around their own anger starts to exhale. They realize the goal was never to become someone who never upsets anyone. It was to stop living in a world where your dignity is the price of admission. If you want more spaces where these messier parts of you are allowed to exist without judgment, you're welcome to stick around this channel. Because in the end, this is the arc. From swallowing every no to hearing yourself clearly. From being the calm one at any cost to being the honest one at a fair cost. From treating your anger like a ticking bomb to treating it like what it has always been, evidence that there is still something alive in you worth defending.